Hello and welcome to Kids Korner, which is the spin-off show from the regular World of Stew podcast that I do with my co-host Dave. Now this of course is Kids Korner, so I am merely a conduit through which my reviewers can pass their judgments through. So who are my reviewers? Well, of course, back once again we have to my right Megan Ramey.
Hello.
And to my left we have Jessica Rose.
Hi.
And we are back with Kids Korner episode 2. Now, Jess, it's been actually 2 months since we last did this, which seems like ages since we did one of these shows. Megs, do you remember what film we did last time?
Batman vs Superman.
Or as I prefer to call it, Batfleck vs Superville. Now, I didn't particularly like that film. Jess, you were kind of on the fence a little bit. You were, but you loved it.
I loved it. Properly loved it.
You gave it sort of like 20 million out of 10 or something ridiculous.
No, 20 million and infinity out of 20 million and infinity.
Okay, so she obviously loved it.
Yeah.
So, Jess, what film are we going to talk about this time?
X-Men Apocalypse.
It-
Woo!
It is indeed X-Men Apocalypse. It is the 7th X-Men film of the franchise, if you include X-Men Origins Wolverine. It is the 3rd of the new trilogy. The first was X-Men First Class. We then had the brilliant, which I think we all love, X-Men Days of Future Past.
What's new trilogy?
Trilogy.
Yeah, whatever that is.
A trilogy is a set of films that are in a 3. So, for instance, Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Now, obviously, they've gone on and they've made a lot more Star Wars ever since, but the original idea was it was 3 films. So, with X-Men, you had X-Men, X2, and X-Men The Last Stand. That was the original trilogy.
Essentially, X2.
And then you had X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was kind of a standalone film. And then they started a new trilogy with the X-Men as younger people, which we had James McAvoy.
Have we watched X-Men First Class?
I believe so, yes. It's which had James McAvoy as Professor X and Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Right? So we had X-Men First Class, we had X-Men Days of Future Past, which we all really enjoyed. So now we are going to talk about X-Men Apocalypse.
Things are better. The world is better.
Just because there's not a war doesn't mean there's peace. He's coming.
Some call him Apocalypse. He was some kind of god. For thousands of years, he's been amassing mutants to take their powers. He always had 4 followers.
Like the 4 horsemen.
Eric, don't join them.
Whatever it is you think you saw in me, I buried it with my family.
Together, we will cleanse the earth.
Everything they've built will fall! And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one!
I've never felt power like this before.
They took him. Raven, the world needs the X-Men.
I'm not a hero.
Students look up to you.
If I'm going to teach your kids something, I'm going to teach them how to fight. Follow me.
You're her.
I'm not afraid of him. Magneto, he's my father.
What?
Him and my mom, they did.
No, I know.
Not all of us can control our powers.
Then don't.
Apocalypse means to destroy this world.
It's all of us against a god. And the most powerful beings on Earth.
Forget everything you think you know. None of that matters. You're not students anymore.
We'll take everything from them.
You're X-Men.
Well, you've been busy.
We had a little help.
Now, before we talk about this film, it should be noted that it hasn't done particularly well in the box office. Right?
Why?
It has taken just over $400 million, which sounds like a lot of money, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd
It
love
sounds
to.
like loads of money. I'll be
I'd-
rich now.
I'd love to have that amount of money. That would be
I would
awesome.
swim in it.
What, like Scrooge McDuck? You have no idea what that is, so don't worry about
No,
it.
I'm Robin swimming his money, and I think it was someone in Teen Titans, and they swam in the money, and then there's a nightmare, and there was a monster.
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of money, but X-Men Days of Future Past took over $700 million.
$700 million.
Yeah, right. So when you make a film that's a follow-on to another film, you tend to want the new film to
And
do
more
better
money.
than the last,
Yeah.
right? So obviously it's not going to do anywhere near what Days of Future Past did. And it's also taken a lot less money than Deadpool, which of course you guys can't watch because it's 18.
But can I
Right,
say something? But it's not because the only reason people don't get to do it and like pay the money to go and see it because somebody who's a real critic goes and sees it and says, "Oh, this is rubbish. This is the worst film in the world," and then it puts it on Facebook or something. Everyone listens about it, so then nobody goes and gets the film, and then they just wait for it to come out in DVD. That's why they get less money. But like X-Men Days of Future Past, everyone loved it, so everyone went to go see what everyone was talking about.
Well, you have kind of summed up the job of a movie critic there.
Yeah, I rest my case.
Yes, she did.
Right.
I don't know what that means, but
Right, so let's move on to the film, okay? X-Men Apocalypse is loosely based on a comic book story called The Age of Apocalypse.
what's that?
It's about Apocalypse fighting the X-Men, right?
Okay.
So we start off the film and we zoom through a big pyramid where we find Old Man Apocalypse is about to transfer himself into the body of a young mutant who has a healing factor like Wolverine, yeah?
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, the humans, they know likey the fact that old Apocalypse is their ruler and king of the world and all the rest of it. So they conspire to kill him. And then we get this big scene where
They're trying to save him. The mutants, his 4 mutants are trying to save him.
yeah, they're known as the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, right?
Yeah, okay, then.
So they try to save Apocalypse, which they kind of do, but he's buried under the pyramid. So Megs, what did you think of this opening scene?
I thought it was a bit boring before, when it started, but then once, like, it got into the middle where you saw inside the pyramid and stuff, I actually got quite interested when they knocked down the thing so everyone in there could, like, die. But, you know that girl in there, and she got killed
Yeah.
by this big bear?
Yeah.
She basically saved him.
She did,
But
yeah.
I don't know why.
Because he was her king, he was her ruler.
But
Yeah, how did she
but
save
he's
him?
a villain.
Yeah, but so was she.
How did she save him?
Well, she used her powers to put a protective bubble over him. So, anyway, in this scene, there's some quite graphic deaths, isn't there?
What do you
Some
mean?
people burned to death.
Did
another,
they?
Yeah, and then well, what were you watching? And another person gets lifted up in the air and his body gets twisted and cracked up.
Oh
and
yeah,
that. Do you remember that
was
one?
no.
Yeah, so you didn't like that.
It was good
I
though.
wasn't concentrating on that bit.
Okay.
I kind of like it because like usually they don't have that much violence and it's cool. I mean, yeah.
Right, so that is basically establishing that Apocalypse is buried. So we jump forward to the present day, which is 1983, and this film is taking place 10 years after the events of Days of Future Past, which was in 1973. And we catch up with various different stories, right? So let's begin. We're not going to do it chronologically, which means in the order of the film, because that gets too confusing, right? So what we'll do is we'll talk about Magneto to start with, okay? Now, Magneto is living in Poland, and he's hiding away. He's pretending to be a human, and he's got a wife and he's got a daughter. He's working in a steel mill, and there's this earthquake, which we'll get to shortly why there's the earthquake. and he inadvertently has to use his powers to save someone because he's a good guy now, right?
Yeah.
He then goes home, tells his wife they're going to come for us, we have to leave, and they go to look for his daughter, and the police have turned up and grabbed his daughter. Okay? Now, the daughter is a mutant, and what power does she have, Jess?
She can like summon animals. Like she was really scared, so she started crying. So like, and then loads of birds started pecking at the soldiers because she was so angry.
Okay, and then what happens next?
And then, because the birds were really not scaring the police, just hurting the police, he accidentally let the bow and arrow go, and he killed Magneto's wife and daughter, and then
what
he
did you
gets
think of that?
really, really angry.
Yeah, what did you think? What was your feelings when the
I
daughter?
felt a bit sad for him, and I
Yeah.
thought his family was over. But then, I'm not going to say it, because I'm going to say it over there, but can I say it? Quicksilver is his son.
Okay, well, we'll get to that bit shortly. Okay, what did you think of the emotional scene here where the mum and daughter died?
That was quite depressing because he had changed. He was a new person, and then suddenly he's like, "I am sad Magneto again. I do not have a life."
Of course, then Magneto goes a bit cray-cray and he kills all the police officers, but you don't feel hatred towards him. You actually feel sorry for him, don't you? And you can understand why he did what he did. Yeah?
Because they killed him.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. He should have just killed that one man, not the rest, because they didn't do anything.
Yeah, but he was crazy with
Megan,
guilt.
say if you had a child, and you had a child and a husband, and then they were both killed, you would get really angry. If it was the police that killed them, you would get really angry with
And
the
I'll
police.
kick their bits.
Okay, no, you'd want revenge on them.
Right.
I'll kick their bits, punch them in the face, take off their glasses, no, their hat, break their hat, break their torch, or something.
Right. So we'll come back to Magneto shortly and what's going to happen with him. But now we're going to take a look at Mystique. Right. Now Mystique has become a folk hero to young mutants, and what that means, Megs, is that because of the way she saved the president in Days of Future Past, young mutants now look up to her and they think she's a hero. Now she doesn't like being a hero. She's just going around freeing mutants who are being tortured by humans. So Megan, who does she actually free to start with?
Nightcrawler, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And what is Nightcrawler doing, Jess?
He's in like cage fighting, like they put him in cages and he has to fight other mutants, and then they could kill each other if one of them has to die in the cage.
So yeah,
before they go out.
He's in a cage fight against Angel.
Yeah.
Right?
Who's Angel?
He's the guy with the wings.
Yeah.
Right. So they have a fight. Mystique helps them both escape. Angel flies off. We'll catch up with him later. And Mystique takes Nightcrawler, and they're going off until they find out from a mutant called Caliban that
Who's that? Was that bald guy?
That was the bald guy, yeah. From Caliban that Magneto has gone crazy and his wife and his daughter are dead and he's killed all the police officers, right? So she decides she's got to go off and find Charles Xavier, who of course is Professor X. So she goes off to the Professor's Institute for Gifted Youngsters, which of course is a school where all the mutants can live in peace and
Does
yada
nobody
yada.
know it's about mutants?
No, right?
But they think it's for gifted children.
Yeah. While all of this is going on, right, a character called Moira McTaggart, who we haven't seen since X-Men First Class, she inadvertently awakens Apocalypse. It's her fault.
Yeah.
Right? Because she takes the rug off and the light flashes down. Yeah? Moira, you know the lady who goes down in the hole and she sees them all chanting?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's her fault.
It is her fault.
She's so stupid.
Yeah, it's all her fault. Apocalypse wakes up. He's wondering what's going on because obviously mutants were in control.
Nobody loves him. Nobody's his friends.
Yeah, and he decides enough with this. I've got to take over the world again. And the first mutant that he meets, Jess, is
Storm.
Is Storm. And what does he do to Storm?
He makes her powerful, so she's basically on the bad side. Not like her. She's usually a good girl. A good girl.
Alright, so she's juiced up. He gives her extra juice for her powers. Yes, Jess?
I just want to say that usually she's African. Why is she suddenly Indian?
No, it's Egyptian. They're in Egypt.
What Egyptian?
Hence the pyramid. Well, they just change things every now and again. So, she goes off with Apocalypse. The next place they go to Caliban's place, and they hook up with another mutant called Psylocke, and Apocalypse makes her more powerful. They then go off and they find Angel, and what does he do to Angel, Jess?
He makes his wings metallic, so say if anyone damaged him, it would just reflector.
And what did you think of the way that happened with all the blood and the bones ripping out?
I thought it was disgusting and also a bit cool.
Disgusting but cool.
Lying and relaxing and watching them.
Okay, you're talking nonsense now. So then those four, they go and they collect Magneto, and he is about to kill the people in the foundry where he was working, but he doesn't get the chance because Apocalypse does his little flippy thing with his hand and they all melt into the ground.
Ew.
Yeah. While all of this is happening, Moira McTaggart and Mystique have all gone and met up with Professor X, and we've also met for the first time in this particular timeline of films Cyclops, who we saw at school getting his powers, and what did he do?
He accidentally went in the toilet and then this gangster went in and bullied him. Then he got really angry because his eyes were really hurting. Got really angry and he accidentally lasered the toilet door.
Meg, that wasn't in the school. That was in his normal school.
That's what she meant.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Xavier's school.
No. So anyway, once he's done the attack in the bathroom, his older brother, who is Havoc, he takes him to meet Professor X, and while he's there, he bumps into
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey. They're of course going to eventually fall in love and yada yada yada. So all of this is going down, and Professor X and Moira McTaggart and Mystique, and they all learn about Eric. So then Professor X decides that it's a good idea to use Cerebro, which is the helmet thing that he puts on, to try and contact Magneto. And what happens then, Megs?
He gets really hurt.
He does, yeah, because Apocalypse is like, hey, that's a good idea. I can use your powers to contact everyone in the world. And what does Apocalypse do?
He asks, he mind controls Xavier, to say, because he's had all the mutant bodies that he's gone into. He has all their powers, and he tells him to say that he is the ruler of the world. All mutants shall be on his side. He said, I will conquer.
Yeah, but what's the first thing he does? Do you remember, with all the nuclear...
Oh yeah, he sets up all the nuclear bombs and everything up into space, so then they can't attack him, they can't try and stop him.
They can't defend themselves.
Yeah.
This causes Professor X to kind of lose his mind a little bit. Havoc blows up Cerebro, and then...
Well, that's because Xavier told him to.
Yeah, and then Apocalypse turns up with Magneto, Psylocke, Angel and Storm to take Professor X away with them. And then what happens, Megs?
I forgot.
Well, they come in, they take Professor X, right? Then Havoc shoots his beam out of his chest.
To try and get them.
It hits the aeroplane engine, and then what happens?
The whole school blows up.
And who happens to be outside?
Quicksilver!
Now, was Quicksilver your favourite character from Days of Future Past?
Yes.
Yeah, because that whole scene where he's running around the kitchen is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it
right.
was awesome.
Right, so Quicksilver shows up, right, and we get basically, it's almost sort of similar to the scene we got in Days of Future Past, but obviously a lot bigger, where better, where he is running around the school, and it's all exploding in slow motion, but obviously it's normal motion for him, and he basically saves everyone in the school, including a dog that's eating pizza and
a goldfish.
Yeah, and a goldfish. So, what did you think of the Quicksilver scene?
It was awesome. Do my catchphrase there.
What did you think of the Quicksilver scene?
Could have been better.
How could it possibly have been better? It was amazing.
He could have I don't know. He could have saved a monkey.
No.
There's no
He could have saved Havoc.
Yeah, but Havoc actually dies in the explosion because he was the one who was closest to the explosion.
Because he made it.
Yeah. So Quicksilver shows up, and unfortunately he's not in time to save Havoc, but he saves everybody else. Then the army show up, and it happens to only be William Stryker, who we saw in Days of Future Past, when he was trying to capture Wolverine and stuff. So what do the army do when they get there?
They take everyone that they can see, Nightcrawler, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. They stay behind. They ask Nightcrawler to go into They ask Nightcrawler to fade into the aeroplane, the helicopters that they're taking them in, but because it's like mutant proof, they can't use his powers. He can't get out, so then they're trapped. So like all like adults, all the main characters, they've been put in this huge cell, and they're running around trying to find them in this huge insane asylum.
Okay, right. Well, it's not an insane asylum.
It kind of is.
It's like it's basically
Wolverine.
Alkali Lake, right? Which is where Weapon X happens to be, and Weapon X happens to be another name for
Wolverine.
Okay, now this is the Wolverine cameo of the film, and how does he appear?
Is it Jean Grey?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Jean Grey opened the door because she didn't know who was in there.
Yeah.
They started to kill the people who went in front of him.
Basically, this is what they call the feral, or the wild Wolverine, that comic book fans have been waiting to see in the movie for years. So, what does he do when he gets out the box?
He starts killing everybody, and then he gets to one area, and then Jean Grey uses mind control. She doesn't really stop him. She kind of mind controls and just says, just stop.
She soothes him a bit.
Calm down, yeah. Like Black Widow did to Hulk when he was going crazy. So basically, she just stopped him, and he just went off into the snow, and he disappeared. We never saw him for the rest of the film.
And what did you think of the violence of this particular scene where Wolverine's basically going around killing anyone in sight and there's blood everywhere?
Well, you said that we shouldn't go and watch it in the cinema, or we shouldn't even watch it at all until we get older because it was so bloody. But when we watched it, it wasn't actually that violent. It was kind of just blah, blah, blood. Because you didn't see him kill them. All you see was him running, putting his claws in people. Then on the security cameras where the guys were looking, you could just see them looking and just guys with puddles of blood. It's not that, gory.
Yes, then just seeing him kill them by putting the claws.
What did you think of this scene?
I thought it was awesome.
How many times are you going to use that catchphrase in this?
100.
Awesome.
Okay. Right, so Wolverine goes off, and we will see him again in Wolverine 3 when that comes out.
But we can't watch.
No, because that's going to be an 18. And
Violent.
yeah,
violent,
just like
violent.
Deadpool, you can't watch that, which we've already discussed. Jean and Cyclops and Nightcrawler, they save Mystique, Quicksilver, Beast, and Moira McTaggart, and they have to then go off and fight Apocalypse because Professor X has basically told Jean where they are, so they know that they have to go off and stop Apocalypse from taking over the world. While all of this was going on, Apocalypse has basically lain waste to the town where he was dug up from, hasn't he? He completely destroyed it.
Yeah.
And he's basically taken Magneto and he's increased his powers, and Magneto is ripping the entire world apart.
Yeah,
Because
he did an earthquake.
Because there's magnetic forces in Earth, so basically he's one of the strongest people in the world because he can bend metal to his will. He could basically rip out the Earth if he wanted to.
So the X-Men turn up, and this is where we get our big fight scene. Quicksilver and Mystique try to talk sense into Magneto, but he's like, I ain't got time for that.
Well, Quicksilver wants to tell him that he's his son, but he doesn't because he's too scared. And because Magneto's got a lot on his mind, because if suddenly he found out that he was his son, he'd be questioning him, saying, is this true? He would be, because he's under a trance at the moment, so it's kind of hard to tell him because all these big battles happening, he's killing loads of innocent people, so it's not really the time.
So Beast is fighting Psylocke. Storm is sort of going at it with Jean Grey and Cyclops, while Nightcrawler is inside trying to find the Professor, and Angel is after him. Now, what is Apocalypse doing to the Professor?
He's basically like killing him.
Well, he's not killing him, is he? He's trying to transfer his mind into the Professor's body, isn't he?
Yeah, so... And then, he's on this pillow because they get him, and then they have this big fight in their mind.
Yeah, that's in a minute, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to transfer himself into the Professor's body, and Nightcrawler saves him, yeah? Right?
How's he save him?
Because he finds him and he transports him out with his teleportation powers.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
They all try to escape on the plane, and what happens?
It crashes.
And Jess, who dies in the plane crash?
Angel.
Okay, so
He's in the plane.
he climbs into the plane
Oh,
as it's going down, and they all teleport out, don't they? So he's then dead, basically. Well, we're assuming he's dead. We don't actually see that he's dead. We see his body on the floor. Is he dead? We're not quite sure. So all of this has not pleased Apocalypse. He's a bit mad now, isn't he, Megs?
No.
Right. So he then goes into the mind. So they're in the dream realm, where he battles Professor X, and it's going well for Professor X at the start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. But then, what does Apocalypse do?
He grows massive and destroys him, and he actually feels it outside, not inside.
Yeah, well, because if you damage the mind, the body gets hurt as well.
How does he grow massive?
Because it's in the dream world, so it's not real. It's just his interpretation of himself, right?
So he's not actually that big.
So if you were battling me in our minds, right,
Yeah.
then you could imagine yourself in my mind as a giant and try and stamp on me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right? Sorry, Megs, what?
Let's imagine it.
No, let's not, because I don't want to die. So it's all kicking off, and it looks like Apocalypse is going to win, but the Professor calls on
Jean Grey.
to step in because Jean Grey has this thing inside her called the Phoenix Force, which is touched upon earlier in the film, and is like this sort of entity which later on becomes evil, and she becomes the Dark Phoenix, and she tries to take over the galaxy and blah blah blah. She does, yeah. She becomes proper evil.
Dun, dun,
Does she come like? What does she come? She comes like something Phoenix.
The Dark Phoenix.
Not Dark Phoenix. She comes something else.
No, she becomes Dark Phoenix. Trust me, I've seen it.
Okay.
Right.
No, but in like this Marvel game, it's got a different Phoenix. She's got like fire powers.
Right, well anyway, okay. Then, it still looks like Apocalypse might win, but who else joins a good team?
Magneto.
Of course, and he's firing all these like bits of metal at Apocalypse, and Cyclops is shooting at Apocalypse with his beams, and Jean Grey comes out and she's like using the Phoenix Force, and together they manage to kill Apocalypse.
And Beast is doing it too. Beast is like charging at him, he's throwing bits at him.
Alright, okay.
We don't know if he died. He just faded away in dust, so he
Yeah,
might
that
be
means
in a
he's dead.
different. He might be in a different Earth. He might have faded.
Plus he's got healing factor, so he could potentially come back.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. So all of this happens, the X-Men win. We skip to the end of the film, and at the end of the film, Professor X, who is now bald because he lost all his hair when...
No wonder. I was wondering, why is he bald? Did he shave his hair? Did he have cancer?
Neither. It was because of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
right?
now I know.
Right. So he is now training the new X-Men, and he has the big room called the Danger Room, which has got the Sentinels in it, and they're going to battle it out. Now, Magneto says, I'm not going to join you. I'm off to go and do whatever, go and
Gonna live my life, get another child, get another wife.
yeah,
He has so many children.
have some margaritas on the beach or something. Now, my problem with this is, during the film, Magneto kills millions of people, yeah? When he's ripping apart all the cities, millions of people die, right?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of people alive.
Okay,
now.
so why aren't the humans demanding that Magneto is put on trial?
Yeah, why aren't they afraid of him? Why don't they do what they did in X-Men Future Past? Because they put him in this huge cell and locked him up.
Yeah, they should have locked him up, but I'm sure that will get answered in the next film, which we have no idea what it's going to be called, but apparently it might be X-Men in Space.
Ooh,
So Megs, what's on
I
your
feel
mind?
a bit sorry for him of all of his like people that he's loved that have died.
Well,
not everyone's died.
he's got
Quicksilver's not
Quicksilver,
dead.
and he's got Quicksilver's sister,
And his mum.
Is his sister?
the Scarlet Witch.
And his mum, Dad.
Yeah. Although, yeah,
Well, she's not in these films, is she?
yeah,
She was a little girl, though.
yeah, but she's still got powers, hasn't she?
They don't show it.
So that is, in a nutshell, X-Men Apocalypse. Now, we've never done a Kids Corner about X-Men Days of Future Past, so out of 10, what would you give X-Men Days of Future Past?
1,000.
1,000?
Infinity, probably.
Okay, what would you give X-Men Days of Future Past out of 10?
No, it could be 50,000 100 out of 50,000.
Okay, so those are your fictional numbers. An actual number out of 10 now, what would you give it?
10.
What would you give it?
100.
No, an actual number out of 10.
10?
Okay, so based on the fact that you have given Days of Future Past 10 out of 10, what would you give X-Men Apocalypse?
7.
7, okay, and what would you give it?
100.
What would you give it out of 10?
10.
You love this film as much as you love Days of Future Past?
Yeah.
Okay, why would you only give it a 7?
Because, like, it's not as good as X-Men Days of Future Past, definitely. So it had to be 7, 8, or 9. Because, if you think about it, some of it just didn't make sense in my mind. Some of it, like, X-Men Days of Future Past, I literally got everything. Like, everything was clear to me, but this film wasn't as clear. Why Storm? Why was she bad? Why was she Egyptian? Why? Just why?
Okay, well, we should point out that Storm is now with the X-Men.
Yeah,
as
because she said, I'll just hang out here now.
As is Mystique and Quicksilver. So they are now all officially X-Men. So if there is another film, we will see all those characters. Yeah. So that was the Kids Corner review of X-Men Apocalypse.
Wait, what happened to Psylocke?
She just ran off, didn't she? She went off. She'll be back to do her own
Psylocke?
thing. She's the girl with the purple sword things that look a bit like lightsabers.
Oh yeah, she did run away.
Yeah, she ran off. So that was the Kids Corner of X-Men Apocalypse. We will be back with episode 3 of Kids Corner. We don't know what film we're going to do yet, but once we've decided, we will be back with that. So for now, just leaves me enough time to say thank you very much, Megan.
It's okay, people.
And thank you very much, Jess.
You're welcome.
And until next time, keep it geek.
Bye.